So I've been seeing people kind of hyped up over something that happened the other day. It was I was about to say Demetrius Andres. It was Shakur Stevenson and Javante Tank Davis. They were going back and forth, about, oh, you ain't this or you ain't that, about them fighting next and this and that, going back and forth. And people are hyped up about, hey, how, great of a fight that would be, seeing those two go at it. And that, yeah, we can, see a great fight between two young fighters and all this other stuff. People getting all hyped up now, and talking about what could be shortly, in the next year or so. Next, 6 months or whatever, year, whatever it might be. And people need to stop doing that. Stop hyping yourselves up over fights that are not going to happen. And stop hyping fans up also about fights that are not going to happen. You know how Bob Arum works. You know how Top Rank works. They're about, when it comes to fights of that magnitude, they keep it in-house. If they got a young fighter and he's growing, what they're going to do is they're going to keep fights between him. Major fights that pertain to him in-house. In-house, period. Like you see before, Devin Haney couldn't get no fight against anybody on Top Rank. Now that he signed to Top Rank, Lomachenko's all hyped up like, yeah, I got next. The same people that are, quote, scared of him, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool, it's all good for fighting them. Because now these are all in-house fights now. So Top Rank is willing to do it. But if you're on the outside, they're not going to do it. They don't care if it's a big fight. A big fight like that between him and Javante Tank Davis, Shakur's getting like 25% of all that stuff. Top Rank is getting like 25%. Let's say even if they got 40%, even if they got 50%, a lot of the back end that they usually take from their fighters, they're not going to be able to necessarily do that on the other side because Tank, he's going to get that back end. He's going to get all that. So what they'll do is they'll look and say, okay, if these two fight, what kind of money can we make off this particular fight? Right? And then they'll look at it as like, okay, how much money is that? Is that 3 fights, 4 fights for us? Well, we got about 30 fights for this guy. We got about 16, 20 fights in this guy. So we can make long term, we can make substantially more money by just, not doing that particular fight. Not to mention, he would have to go to PBC. This ain't gonna be no joint venture, no nothing. This is a situation where somebody is a complete 100% A side, and you basically gotta just do what you gotta just show up. Your job is just to show up as an opponent. Period. And it's not gonna happen. And Javante Tank Davis has this weird, mindset right now where he thinks that, because he's leaving Floyd Mayweather, that all these fights are gonna, quote, be able to be made now. Like, fighting a Lomachenko or fighting, whoever, like, somehow these fights are gonna be made because he's in his head, he has it that the reason why he hasn't got these fights is because of Floyd Mayweather. He's gonna find out real quick that that's not the case. Some of the fights that he wanted to make, especially with the signed to Top Rank, if they were DAZN, they weren't gonna set those fights anyway. Eddie was never gonna set the fight with Devin. Ryan Garcia, they tried to make that fight. Golden Boy basically went in another direction. They didn't do that fight. Before, they previously had tried to set up a fight with Tevin Farmer. Offered him $2 million for a pay-per-view bout, and they turned that down. He went and fought for $500,000 and lost his belt and hasn't fought since. And I think he's fighting in Africa or something in his next fight. But all the Top Rank guys, no, you weren't gonna get the Top Rank guys. It doesn't matter who you're with. They weren't doing it. They weren't doing it. So when he gets put into a position where he's like, okay, cool, for me to get these fights out to sign to Top Rank, like Devin Haney did, I have to take this, all this back end that I'm used to getting, I'm gonna not get it. They're gonna take a bunch of that from me, not only for this fight, but it's gonna be multiple fights where it's gonna be millions of dollars that usually go into my pocket. It's no longer gonna go into my pocket. It's gonna be a little bit different. He's gonna be like, oh, okay. But he's going to be put into a space where he's going to have to, see that himself. He's going to have to see that himself. So, but as far as these two, and with him and Shakur fighting, like, stop it. People always, I've seen this story like over and over and over and over again. People start talking about a fight that I know it's not going to, and I just come straight up and say, it's not going to happen. And because I'm the party pooper, because I just say straight up, like, why even talk about it? It's not going to happen. Like, no, can't be negative or this and that. No, it's not going to happen. Sorry. That's just what the reality is. If these two guys fight, it's going to be years from now, 6, 7 years from now. And Shakur isn't leaving Top Rank anytime soon. He's staying, he's not. And he still has in his mindset where he believes also that, oh yeah, these particular fights can be set up. But as the other fighters that were on Top Rank, he's going to find out that that's not the case. And as he sees other guys progressing, get bigger and bigger and bigger, and he sees himself get stagnated at a certain point, that's when things might start to kick in. But right now, as long as they're giving him additional money with a certain flow and he's getting certain title shots within the company, he's going to be okay. He's going to be good. He's going to be content. Right now, he's content. He's not content as far as with the way he's promoted and the way he's pushed. But I mean, financially, whatever it might be, there's something where he's, he seems to be good. Like when the whole Terrence Crawford thing started, he made it clear, like, hey, that stuff ain't got nothing to do with me. He made that very, very clear. All that stuff, whatever his lawsuit's about, has absolutely nothing to do with me. And he completely backed up away from that situation and separated himself away from that situation. So, but long term we'll see. Maybe in the future, 5, 6 years down the line, we'll see it. Unless Tank just does like a Devin Haney, say, F it, let me just sign to them. Even though I'm going to be getting F'd, let me just sign to him anyway, whatever. Devin Haney, his was a little bit different because he put himself into a bad situation he made good money with DAZN, but he knew that he had reached where he was going to reach with DAZN. He understood that they weren't going to get him the big fights that he wanted. That was number one. They also didn't even put up the money that would have been necessary to get that Kambosos fight. And he saw what happened to Farmer. He sees what's happening to Demetrius Andres. He sees this. So his father's not an idiot. He's smart. So he understands what that future's going to be. He understands the road that they're going towards. The PBC bridge has been burnt. Showtime bridge has been burnt, so you can't go that direction. So they were put into a space where it's like, hey, we got to make a move. And he made a move, decided to make a move now rather than later on. Understanding that the progression of his son was going to be stagnated, if not even stopped, real soon. Those wheels will stop churning. So he's still making good money. Maybe not as much as he's making at DAZN, but he's still going to be making good money. And he's going to be getting certain fights, and he's going to progress to a certain level, to a higher level than he would have at DAZN, because he'll eventually get to the point where he's making more money than he was at DAZN. A little bit. He's not going to become a star. He's not going to be a Gervonta Tank Davis. You just, you're not capable of doing that at Top Rank. That's just what it is. Unfortunately, just Crawford couldn't do it. Even Floyd couldn't do it. Devin's no exception. He's not going to be able to do it there either. But maybe he can. And people are talking about maybe him fighting Shakur, but back to Shakur. But Shakur's going to 135. Devin's going to 140. So but hey, maybe there's some way of maybe somehow getting that fight done if Devin's able to stay at 135 pounds. Maybe they can do a fight between those two. Or maybe later on, a couple of years down the line, because Shakur's moving up. He's getting up there to that 100, and he's going to be at 135 soon. Within probably, I'm thinking the next 2 fights or so, he's going to be at 135. And after being at 135, I don't see him staying at 135 that long either. He's a big kid. He's a real big kid, and he's still growing. So he's one of those, even though he's at 130, he's one of them dudes where I'm looking at his frame and I'm like, that boy's going to be at 140 fast. Real fast. So, but as far as, so that's about that. Maybe we can see in the future Devin versus Shakur. Because those are the two guys that I believe will last. All these other guys, these hype jobs they put around and try to praise and push, they're going to keep going to the wayside. But I believe those two, they'll probably maintain, and you probably see those two fights against each other. But as far as Tank goes, he's going to stay on PBC, I believe. They're going to keep getting him fights. They're going to keep grooming people, putting him up there, and he's going to keep progressing, and he's going to keep growing. And he's going to keep growing, and he's going to understand, I believe, that, okay, these fights ain't as easy as I thought it was going to be to make them. They're going to try to make them. I think they're actually going to try to make them, even going to try to make an offer. And when he sees what the reaction is from Top Rank and Bob Arum, then he'll understand that, damn, I'm not going to be able to get these fights. You know, I'm not gonna be able to get these fights. You know, but we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens with, you know, with all of them. You know, it's gonna be an interesting next couple of years. It's gonna be fun. You know, I think boxing is a good place. You know, we got them, all three of those guys. We got Ennis. Boxing's looking good. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.